Hey, welcome back to the channel. In this week's video, we are going to do a mid-summer Vancouver real estate market update. We're going to talk about a change in BC housing minister. We're going to talk about what's going to happen with interest rates at the next Bank of Canada meeting and what we can expect for Vancouver real estate prices as we move through the year. Real quick before we get started though, if this is your first time to the channel, my name is Hasan. I'm a real estate agent in the Vancouver area, and I make educational real estate content to help you on your real estate journey. When I'm not making videos like this, I'm helping people just like you buy and sell real estate across the Lower Mainland. So if that sounds interesting to you and you want to chat with me one-on-one about your real estate situation, you can book me for a free call in the Calendly link below or on screen, and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss a future video. All right, we're going to jump right into it. Lots to cover. I hope you had a wonderful week. We're going to start by talking about something I didn't get a chance to talk about in last week's video. As I recorded the video, the announcement came out that BC has a new housing minister. So Ravi Kahlon, who's been the housing minister since 2022, when they actually created housing as its own file. Ravi Kahlon now moving to jobs, focusing more on the economy, and the reason for that has to do with what's happening between Canada and the US with the tariffs. Premier David Eby is looking at Ravi Kahlon to kind of lead that charge on the jobs and economy side. So he moves out of housing. Christine Boyle, who is a Vancouver City Councillor formerly, she's going to be moving into the housing file. I don't know too much about her, just that she was on council. She was basically on the party, I can't remember the name, but the party that Ken Sim wasn't on, so basically the opposing party, but on council. And she was in support of the Arbutus Supportive Housing Project, which I've done a few videos on. That was the housing project, the social housing, single resident occupancy that got shut down, that actually went through a legislative process and got shut down. She was in support of that. Again, I don't know too much about her, but a lot of people were, once the news came out, a lot of people were asking, is this a promotion for the former housing minister Ravi Kahlon, or was it a demotion? What exactly happened? I think it's very clear that this is definitely a promotion for Ravi into the jobs file, which I believe was what he was working on prior to housing. I think for the BC NDP, they could look at housing in BC and they could see them as having done a lot of positive things when it comes to housing. They can look at it and say over the last few years, the housing scenario has gotten better. The affordability scenario when it comes to housing has gotten better. When you look at rental rates coming down, you look at the rental protection fund, you look at all of the zoning changes, you look at BC builds, a lot of different initiatives that depending on which side of the coin you're looking at, you can say that housing has gotten more affordable. When you look at it from the rental side, you can't really say that when you look at from an ability to purchase. And if you've been following my channel for a bit, my thesis is that 4 or 5 years from now, housing is going to be as unaffordable as ever. And yes, I group condos into that mix as well, just based on the amount of homes we are building. But Ravi moves on to a new file, new housing minister, effective immediately. So I want to jump over to talk about the Bank of Canada rate decision coming up on July 30th. So when you're watching this will be coming up on Wednesday. Now, pretty much it's a consensus that there's not going to be a rate cut. Everyone is saying that this is going to be a rate hold at this time. In fact, two of the major banks, Scotia and TD, are saying, Scotia and RBC are saying no more rate cuts for the rest of the year. The other big banks are saying there will be an additional 1 or 2 rate cuts. I think ultimately the things that are guiding the Bank of Canada, as we talked about on this channel, the latest inflation report, which although it came in flat, I believe it was 1.9%. CPI came in at 1.9% in the last report. Core measures of inflation have been increasing, and there's obviously threats of further inflation with tariffs. So it makes sense they're going to hold. They also look at the jobs report, which, again, depending on how you look at it, some are looking at it as positive that we added is in the 80,000, jobs in that segment. But a lot of them were part-time jobs. There were a lot of people obviously taking on summer jobs, which tend to be part-time. So you can look at it and say, okay, that's a lot of jobs that we added, but were they, quality jobs? Who was working these jobs? Is it actually, fueling, helping the economy? But there's just too much uncertainty in the market for the bank to actually make a rate cut. So it's looking very much like they're going to hold the rate. And I don't see how it's really possible to guesstimate what's going to happen or project what's going to happen for the rest of the year. So much of it is tied to what's going to happen with the tariff scenario. And without getting too political, it seems as if whatever the president in the U.S. wants to do, he's going to do, and Canada is just going to follow suit. And I think the best thing that we can hope for on that front from a uncertainty perspective is that we find out sooner rather than later how this is all going to shake out. And we're going to jump and talk about, what all of this is doing for the real estate market here in Vancouver so far this year and into this summer. So the first thing to mention on current market, we're sitting here towards the end of July. As I record this, there's 8 days left in the month of July. We're projected to do on the Greater Vancouver side around 2,200 sales. It's still early to project what that final number is going to be, but last year, this month, we did over 2,300. So it's no secret we've been down year over year. Same thing happened last month and the month before. But now, I think we're bridging that gap in terms of how much sales are down versus the previous year. Anecdotally, so in my world and the agents I talk to, some of the top agents across the Lower Mainland and the Fraser Valley, everyone has seen heightened activity right now. More offers, more people booking showings. More people are basically getting off of the fence and saying, look, I cannot wait for this uncertainty in the market to pass through. How long am I going to wait? I have to, I've just got married. We want to have a family. We need a bigger home. I need to separate. I'm going through a divorce. We need to figure out our housing situation. How long are we going to wait? And so people are no longer waiting. They're coming off the fence. Talking to one agent just the other day, a top agent, putting in double-digit homes under contract in a single week. So activity is heightened. Of course, it's a process to get these homes to the subject removal stage and having subjects removed. But right across the board, a lot more activity happening, and it's all of the life changers. The people that are experiencing life changes, they are the ones that are making the moves right now. Like I just mentioned, growing families that are shrinking because they're moving into separate households. Those are still transacting at a heightened clip now than they were earlier in the year. Now, I'm not coming out here and saying the market's booming and everyone's jumping back into the market. What I will say, though, is that there's a price for everything. And the same goes for uncertainty, right? When a price gets to a certain point, and prices have been dropping, we've talked about it on my channel for some time, prices have been coming down. And when a price gets to a certain point, people are willing to deal with the uncertainty surrounding them to make the move. But it has to get to that point. And that point is very different than maybe when you're looking at condos, and it's very different than maybe when you're looking at detached homes. The detached home segment is shrinking, right? Builders are buying older detached homes and they're turning them into 2, 3, 4, sometimes 6 units. So as we pull from that detached home supply and we make multi-units, it's protecting the prices of those properties, where again, on the condo side, we've seen more fluctuation in prices. Sometimes it doesn't reflect when we look at like benchmark prices and we look at entire areas altogether. So, the real estate board, when they report stats, they'll come out with their email and it'll say in Greater Vancouver, condo prices were down benchmark 3%, year over year. But if you actually dig into it and you look at the different areas where the supply is, you might look at Surrey Central and say, wow, prices actually came down 7 or 8%. And so you have to look at the different pockets. The email that we get from the board is great, but it just doesn't tell the full story. So as we move forward through the rest of the year and factoring in that, Bank of Canada, very unlikely to cut rates, fixed mortgage rates are pretty much hovering around 4%-ish, and they've been there for some time. They've stabilized at that point. Inventory continues to grow, not quite at the clip that you would see in the spring, but inventory does continue to grow, and it does feel, again, like activity is picking up, accepted offers are picking up, homes are actually getting sold. What's going to happen with prices as we move through the rest of the year? I personally see more downward pressure in the condo market. I'm seeing stuff in the Burquitlam area, brand new product that's now dipping into the fives, brand new with air conditioning, 1-bedroom units, where you can pick them up in the 500,000s. So I think condos, depending on where you're looking at, they'll continue to come down in price. Now, if you're shopping in the A-plus areas, and I would call that, Kitsilano, Olympic Village, certain pockets of Mount Pleasant, those are maintaining quite well. And in fact, a lot of those are seeing multiple offers on them right now. So again, area dependent. Detached home prices, really depends. If it's an entry-level home that actually has a rental suite, a mortgage helper that more people can purchase, more people can qualify for, I think the floor is maintaining quite well in most areas. And like I just talked about, the supply of detached homes of quality, there's not a lot out there, especially, certain pockets in prime neighborhoods. There's not a lot that's being placed on the market, especially during these summer months. So I expect detached homes are going to hold pretty steady at the entry level. The higher end maybe will continue to take a hit. But, if I were a buyer and I was looking at this market, again, not being able to project what's going to happen with rates and activity, I personally feel, between now and the next 6 months is an excellent time for a long-term purchaser that is looking for a principal residence. Perhaps you're renting right now and you're wondering, is now the right time? Ask yourself, can I put myself into a home I'm going to be in for the next 5 or 10 years? And if you can do that, I personally believe, this is my belief, that you will be safe. It'll be one of the best investments you can make if you're going to hold it for that period of time, and also have the stability and the security of a guaranteed roof over your head where you decide the next time you need to make a move from that property. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this week's video. If you did, like the video. It helps it actually get in front of more people that could also learn from the video as well. And if you want to chat about your own real estate situation, you can book me for a call, or you can just give me a call, send me an email, shoot me a text. All my contact info is in the description box below. But I want to thank you for taking time out this morning to watch this video, and I look forward to seeing you next week.